No matter how skilled you are, how hard you try, or how much money you have, nothing replaces the favor of God. It impacts everything you touch. And today, I'll tell you how. Hey, welcome to Mornings with Bishop Robert. Thanks for joining me. You're always welcome here. My goal is to introduce people to the Jesus they never knew, and then help them get to know him and his word personally and better. So if our time together today just speaks to your heart, let me invite you to like, subscribe, and also share with a friend. Hey, today's lesson is going to be a few minutes longer than most, but if you hang in there, I think you'll be glad you did. God's favor is his deliberate blessing on your life. God's favor on your life it's going to open opportunities for you that you would never otherwise see. Yeah, it's one thing to have sufficient preparation to take advantage of the opportunities you do see, and one can do that by way of education or specific training or even just self-study. There's lots of things you can do to prepare yourself and train yourself to take full advantage of an opportunity and all of its related benefits. But no one can take advantage of an opportunity they don't see. And when you operate in the favor of God, he's going to open doors that you would miss. He'll make connections that you would never have made. He'll give you wisdom to understand things that just would have been beyond your comprehension. In fact, beyond your imagination. As the creator and the operator of the entire universe, God has unlimited access to unlimited resources for unlimited uses. There is literally nothing he cannot open before you and place in your hands if he desires to do so. And when a person's ways please the Lord, that person walks in the favor of God. Well, here's the challenge. Walking in the favor of God is not a comfortable experience. You'd think it would be comfortable, right? You'd think walking in the favor of God would bring great comfort. It does have many benefits. I mean, there's a sense of joy in his presence. There's a reliance on his intervention on your behalf. But the one thing it's not comfortable. And the reason is a simple one. By definition, walking by faith cannot be a comfortable process. It always keeps you outside of your abilities, beyond your capabilities, extended beyond the resources you have in your hands, and dealing with things that are, they're just utterly beyond your personal control. It's a place of reliance upon the move of God to accomplish the will of God. Today's verse says, we walk by faith, not by sight. And because we are who we are, our observation and understanding of situations it's never 100% correct. So we constantly come across issues and problems where we feel as if God ought to act in one certain way or another, and we look at the current situation, at the current issue, and we believe we understand the perfect outcome. But we don't. In fact, we very seldom do. We have to come to the place where we trust what God does. Because he is who he is. He sees things we don't. He understands much more than we're even capable of comprehending. He sees the end from the beginning. He understands what must be worked into the life of a person in order for them to accomplish the purposes that will fulfill their lives. Sometimes these are dark paths. Sometimes these are situations fraught with challenge and difficulty. But a loving father doesn't try to solve every problem for his child. He wants him to grow. Our Heavenly Father understands that his child must develop internal strength, internal skills. In order to mature, children must develop their own skills. And as you learn to trust him, you do develop these elements in your life. He works in you and he forms the skills and abilities to fulfill your calling faithfully and consistently. Then he allows you to walk into situations that will test the levels of skill which you possess. These tests will develop and hone those skills even further. And after you've passed these tests, you move into larger and greater levels. But the tests are not for God. The tests are for you. They allow you to see what God has done in you. So you've got the confidence to step into those larger and greater things for him. They allow you to walk by faith, not by sight. Look, one must recognize that there's a time for teaching and a time for testing. There's a time when God will be speaking tenderly to you. There are times when he'll open things for your understanding and he'll just amaze you with his wisdom and his strength. There are times where he will show you the amazing things that he's capable of and bring you into things that he's got designed for you, things to do. In the book of Ephesians, the Apostle Paul says that God has created good works in advance for us to walk in them, and that he faithfully prepares us to walk in those works. And he's equipped us with the very gifts we need to do them. But as surely as there's a time for teaching, there's also a time for testing. After teaching you about some skill or practice, God will allow you to be tested. And that's in order for you to see the skills you've developed. He already knows. You need to learn and understand. I discipled a young man for a decade or so. Now he's grown, and since he's just finished his medical residency, he's now a physician. Well, during his time of medical studies, there were several times when his teachers would explain the intricacies of certain medical procedures to him. They'd allow him to watch them as these procedures were accomplished. Then they'd allow him to help. Finally, he'd be asked to do them under their supervising eye. And during that supervised observation, they'd give encouragement. They'd give direction. No, try this. They'd be suggesting things based on their experience as mature physicians, allowing him to get the benefit of their skill. But then came the time for the test. There had to come a time when he could demonstrate the skills to perform the procedures successfully without their direct intervention. And in those times, he got no assistance from his professors. They simply stood back and observed. It's a difficult lesson to walk through, but it's a necessary step for maturity. Friends, during the time of testing, the teacher is always silent. But the key is this: never forget in the darkness what you learned in the light. When you go through one of these times of testings, it might appear like God has left you. That close relationship, the wisdom and insight, him speaking directly to your heart, all these things will stop. And one might wonder, where's God gone? Well, the truth is this: he hasn't gone anywhere. He's finished a time of training, And now you're entering a time of testing. Pass the test. Walk by faith. And when you do, you'll move on to higher levels of operational capacity. You'll move into greater places of responsibility and leadership. You'll be given access to touch more lives. You'll have the opportunity to demonstrate His glory and His power in more and greater situations. God hasn't placed the desire of nations in our hearts to tease us. When He said, go into all the world and make disciples of all nations, he wasn't joking. He meant what He said. And therefore, He will prepare the willing ones to accomplish the task. And that task requires preparation. It requires the favor of God. That task, that incredible task, requires that we walk by faith. And as we do, He's pleased. Because we're walking into those things for which we were created. We're stepping into the things that fulfill our very purpose. That requires that we walk by faith. Because without faith, it's impossible to please Him. Without faith, the only resources we have are ours, not His. And you can be sure about this. Our resources and skills are insufficient to win the world to Christ. His resources are necessary. So keep God happy. Learn to walk by faith, not by sight. Well, I am well over the normal time. But can I just ask you, help me introduce people to the Jesus they never knew and help them get to know Him and His Word personally and better. Please like this video. You're going to help more people see it when you do. Then click follow or subscribe so you and I can get together every single day. I'd love to be here with you. If you click the link in the description, you'll get a free copy of my book, Count to One. I'll drop it right in your inbox for you. Hey, one more thing. Don't forget to share this video with a friend. Because as you do, you're part of the team, touching hearts all over the world with the love of Jesus. Thanks for hanging in there, and thanks for helping.